So yesterday I was trying to write my own gospel and I did a very good job. E.g., I made 12 pages and I'm still only on Romans chapter 2. And I started on Romans. I decided I'm not going to touch on the Old Testament because it's just it's worded in a horrible way. It's way too long. There's a ton of shit in it and it's just gobbledygooch, most of it. And I don't believe in the stories and I don't like the stories and therefore, I want to release a new Bible, but I'm just thinking how best I should do it. When people start talking to me, I was thinking that I would love to release this new Bible, but at the same time, I don't want to be spending hours or months of my time doing this when, as soon as people come and talk to me, I'm hoping you're going to give me a ton of money and I'm going to actually try and live a better life. And if I'm trying to live a better life, there's no way I would want to spend my time or waste my time trying to rewrite a Bible, because I hate the Bible, I hate religion, I hate religious people, and ... But at the same time, I think it's really important to give people a chance to find out what my beliefs are. I'm not going to want to talk to people. I'm not going to want to do anything, because if I promote myself too much, I'm only going to be putting my life in danger. If I promote myself too little, well, no one's going to want to be on my side. No one's going to want to be on my side if all I'm having to say is that I hate humans and I want you all to die. If I start saying this, I think there will be a lot of people supporting me because they feel the same way, but I feel like it would be very minimal. So I feel like it should be important that I get my wisdom across, and therefore I need to release a book. I need to publish a book. And I started off with Matthew, and I was kind of explaining how this genealogy means nothing, because Jesus was supposed to be the son of God, hence he wasn't the son of Joseph, hence this genealogy was nonsense. And I sort of explained that, and then I went on to the second part about prophesying about his birth, and I kind of changed the character names so that it sounds like it's talking to me. And then I thought I'd give a nice big 2-page intro, and then I went to the third chapter and I realized that I can't actually analyze the Matthew, Mark, Luke or John books, and Acts as well. They are all about Jesus, the Antichrist, and they are all full of flaws. But the thing is, because they're about Jesus and the Antichrist, they're supposed to be full of flaws. So I don't really want to be correcting it and saying this is how it should have been, because at the end of the day, it's not how it should have been. Jesus is the Antichrist. If there's a ton of flaws in those books, they're supposed to be there because it's supposed to show how Jesus is not Christ. So therefore, I thought there's no point of actually analysing those books and rewriting or recorrecting those books. So then I thought, okay, I'll skip to Acts, and again, I realised it was too much about Jesus, that I can't do that much with it. It's supposed to be flawed. It's about Jesus. So then I moved on to Romans. Romans was written by Paul, who was supposed to be someone who actually met Jesus, and therefore I thought I would change the verse 1 to talk about how he was just a person who met someone and was confused about believing who he was. He believed he was the Antichrist, and then I started explaining. So I've got different chapter names. I've had to. I'll just show you what I've done. So basically, everything in red is what I've changed. That's verse 1, and verse 2 is there on the second line. So I've changed verse 2. That's verse 3. That's verse 4. That's verse 5. That's verse 6. That's verse 7. That's verse 8. That's verse 9. That's verse 10. 11, 12, 13. So basically, I've taken all the tiny little verses that say little, and I've used these verses so that when a verse is said, I feel like, well, I don't want to say that. This verse is not what I want to say, I want to say this. And then I just said a whole big bunch of stuff that is important and far more clear and far more relevant. And then I realised that because I've made it so much longer, I've had to add lots of different chapters into it. And it's now 12 pages long, and I've explained quite a lot in this. So I've explained, because the Bible really does not explain anything. God's thoughts on Paul, who was the man who wrote Romans. So that's chapter 1. basically explaining that he's not my people, he's not my person, he does not believe in me, he believes in Jesus. God's thoughts on the Son of God, this is regarding to who the Son of God, e.g. the Son of God represents the average person. Introduction, the importance of the Son of God, which is to say that the Son of God helps me because you are my children, or some of you are, or you all are, but I don't want all of you because I hate all of you. So I have to work out who my son are. People who want to be my son is who my son is. I've got people who want to be someone else's God or want to belong to another God, and then I have the son that actually wants to be on my side. So I explain that, and yeah, basically this book that I was trying to just stick to the original text. I've already gone through all these books or most of them, and I've tried this was 7 years ago. I went through all the Bible books, including some of the Old Testament and some of the New Testament. Not all of them, but probably about 50 of them or something. Like I spent a long time doing it. I had nothing else to do. But yeah, I tried to stick with the original text as much as I possibly could. But in this text, I feel a lot more confident. I feel a lot more stronger in my belief, and I actually feel a lot more angered over Christianity and the false religion and the false belief that just every sentence that was said in this book is like, I don't want to say it that way. That is not what I want to say. This is what I want to say. And then I've ended up saying something completely different. And as you can see, everything in red is what I have written, and the couple of words that are in black are words that were taken from the original scripture. So basically this is absolutely nothing like the original scripture, and it's actually said in a way that actually makes sense and actually talks about stuff. There is a couple of things that I've left in. There is one chapter that he made, I think it was chapter 2, where it's talking about the law of the Jews, and in this it basically just asks people questions about do you think you can do this? Do you think that if you criticize other people for doing things, do you not think that you do it too? And it had this big long list of all the things that you would criticize people of and say, do you not do this, or do you not do this? And I've left that one in because the Jews are people who think that I'm Jerusalem, and perhaps Christ, but they don't believe that I'm God. And I've kind of just changed it to make it very clear that I'm going to leave the original scripture in that section, because that section talks about circumcision has value. I can't read it properly. I'm dyslexic, so I can't read. Circumcision has value if you observe the law, but if you break the law, you become as though you have not been circumcised. So then if those who are not circumcised keep the law's requirements, will they not be regarded as though they were circumcised? Basically, this is nonsense. This is rubbish. This is crap. I don't. Circumcision means fucking nothing. It's taking the little part of your dick off. I mean, why the fuck is this in a Bible? This just kind of angers me. But I've deliberately left it in and then stated underneath that I have left this in because the old Bible is ridiculous, and if you do not accept me as God, then it means that you do not accept my teachings, and if you do not accept my teachings, then it means that you are going to stick with the old scripture, and if you are going to stick with the old scripture, well, I'm going to show you example of what the old scripture is. The old scripture talks about the little bit of skin on your dick and the importance of getting rid of it, and how it's supposed to represent getting rid of badness in you, when it doesn't. You can't circumcise yourself by you can't just take, okay, I'm going to just cut the bad parts out. I mean, this whole thing is fucking nonsense, and this Bible fucking annoys me, and it fucking pisses me off, and I want to correct it, because there are some good parts in it, There is one part in it where it starts talking about, what have I left in? There's a small number of small bits that I've left in. Because of your subordinate and your unrepented heart, you are storing up wrath against yourself for the day of the judgment. I don't like the way it's said. I don't like the way it's pronounced. I don't like anything about it. And I think it's very important that I put the stuff in red the things that I am saying need to be in red. Why? Because this is what I say. This is how I talk. This is the sort of, you know, I still can't read it. If I was to even read my stuff, I'd probably sound just as bad. But I basically changed everything, and it really winds me up because reading fucking hurts my eyes, and then it makes me feel stupid for not being able to see what's there, and then I've got this read and write machine on this thing that does help me, but it takes the sentence and it reads it out. But there's this little line that follows along, but the thing is it starts talking a lot faster than the line, so after the sentence has said the line, then you just have to wait like a couple of minutes for the catch up, for that thing that dots around the line, the words, to catch up with what has been said, and often it gets stuck and then starts re-saying the line, so instead of just reading the line and going on to the next line, it reads the line about a couple of times, and then you have to have these horrible pauses. The pauses are actually less on the last machine that I was working, and the pauses were even less, but this freaking winds me up, and I can't do this basically because this read and write thing is not good enough, and it's frustrating me, and it's frustrating me what the fucking words are, because these are not my words. This is not my Bible. This has got nothing to do with me. I don't agree with I don't like how this is worded. There are a couple of things in the Bible that I do agree with, but it's so minimal compared to what's actually in there that I just, it's just making me think, why would I bother doing this? You know, I'd love there to be a Gospel of Anna, hence why I'm doing this. But yeah, the Gospel of Anna is just so vastly different to anything that the Bible has written, that it's just stressing me out, and yeah, but I think what I would want to do. So I've looked back at the work that I've done, the new Bible that I made, like, was it 6-7 years ago? I don't know. There's a whole new one where I've put lots of pictures on. I would like to release a Bible, but I don't want it to be too. I don't want it to be too in your face, and I like how I've done it on Facebook, because I've put lots of nice pictures with it. I've made it look very colourful. I've made it look very bright. But yeah, I don't want it to be too in your face. So what I think I would want to do is I'd want to get a writer, and I would want to just literally copy and paste all the words that are written on those pages, spell check them, add in, make them sound, get someone to read it for me, because this read and write machine is not good enough, and it's making me, it just wastes my time. I have to it's not good enough. I need a human to do it. Read it for me, and then change it, and I think that would be good enough. I feel like if I was to just go through the Bible, I'm not correcting. I was going to call it the corrected Bible, but it can't be the corrected Bible when it's so vastly different that, you know, you can't just read verse 1 and then read my verse and be like, oh yeah, I see how it's similar, because it's not similar. I've completely changed the wording. I've completely changed everything about it, and the bits that I haven't changed are the bits that I find annoying, because it's not written in the way that I would write it, and therefore it's bothering me how people are so mesmerised by this book when really it's got nothing to do with me. And maybe I'm sure my spirit has helped things along, but I can't. I like the John 1. There was John 1. In the beginning there was the word. I feel like there's a couple of words that I can change in that. And therefore it might be better to just stick to things like this. Just stick to how I've done it on Facebook, but take away all the pictures. And I think also a lot of the time for the pictures, I've tried to shorten the sentences so that they fit on the page. But yeah, if I'm just taking the writing from everything that's written on those pages and just trying to make a sort of black and white book, it would be I wouldn't be so constrained with it. So yeah, I just want a writer to just read through what I've written, we'll put it in an order. It doesn't even matter if it's in the same order. If they've got little headings and stuff, it doesn't really matter what order it is. I know I've got the introduction, and then I've got information about the Old Testament, information about the New Testament. I could add these 11 pages that I've done. I don't know if I'm going to finish. I'm bored. If I'm doing this, it's because I'm bored. But yeah, it's making me realize that how unsimilar the story, the Bible is. You know, almost everything in it is it's very sympathetic towards the audience. You know, Paul has obviously written it with the goal and intent to try and support the reader and the believer and the person who's, you know, on his side. But I'm reading it and I'm thinking, well, Paul is not on my side. Paul is on the side of the Antichrist. Paul is on the side of Jesus. He's not on my side. And so I've explained that this is who Paul is. Paul is someone who has fallen for the Antichrist and the lies of the Antichrist, but God is using him as a way of trying to promote the Antichrist whilst also making subtle hints to me. But everything about what he's doing is not that strongly connected to me. But that's the purpose, you know, the purpose. People follow people who are similar to them. Now, if he and Jesus, the people who write about Jesus, are following Jesus and are connected to Jesus, you know, the people that follow these people are going to be people who are connected to that side. They're not going to be people who are connected to me. And you know, but I guess I've changed it in a way that hopefully is far more understandable. You know, Anna thinks that these cannot be... Anna thinks that those who cannot believe in reincarnation or cannot accept that male and female souls are no different to each other, you know, I've written it in a proper way, not just in a sort of blurry. Woe to those who think that this is a stupid type of language. This is not who I wouldn't say things like this. No one would talk like this. I like to write how I talk, and the people who wrote the Bible do not write how people talk. They write in some sort of crazy. I was watching a couple of videos from Jaguar White today. You know. And just talk to you rubbish. She talks like she's insane, and there's some, I can't believe it, but there's some people that were just like, yeah, this woman speaks wisdom, y'all. No, she doesn't speak wisdom. It's like if you talk insane or in a crazy way, crazy people won't know that you're talking in a crazy way because they'll see that as normal. And yeah, this is kind of what this Bible reminds me of. You know, it's worded in a very crazy way, and only crazy people would not notice that it's worded in a terrible way. There are a couple of things in there that are good, but I think it would be better to just find those couple of bits and just be like, there we go. Find out, look up to see what people are attacking me with and change those bits, because the bits that people take to try and attack others are probably the bits that are actually about them. And therefore I feel the need to want to change those parts. But yeah, the majority of it is not things you can attack people with, but rather it's just opinions of the writer, and then changing it to be like, this is the gospel of God, just because the writer says so. So the writer says that this is the gospel of God, therefore it is the gospel of God. Is that how you think? And then it's just, anyway.